Hey, what's up, people? JayDub here. Got a pretty quick and easy question for you guys. Which show will you be watching on March the 8th? Will you be watching TNA Impact or will you be watching WWE RAW? Because if you did not know, TNA Impact will be moving to Monday nights to compete with Monday Night Raw permanently starting on March the 8th at 9 p.m. So the question is simple. WWE or TNA, and if you could provide explanation as to why you'll be watching the show that you say you are, that would be great. And for the TNA fans, I really need you guys to type down in the comment section that you will be watching TNA because TNA puts an emphasis on wrestling. I need you guys to type that because I need something to laugh at. I need a joke because honestly, after watching this last episode of Impact, I'm fucking depressed. After watching this horrible Impact, after watching last week's horrible episode also, I'm kind of like depressed. So I need a joke, because that's exactly what that will be. If you type down in the comment section below that TNA focuses on wrestling, that's what it is. It's something to laugh at. It's something not to take serious. It's a fucking joke, because ever since Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff have come to the company, every week after week after week, TNA puts less of an emphasis on wrestling to do these dumbass segments, these dumbass skits, these sending Mick Foley to etiquette classes, Jeff Jarrett flipping burgers and cleaning out bathroom stalls, acting as a janitor. You have to think, what is the purpose of all of this? Then I started thinking to myself, they're preparing Mick Foley for job interviews. That's why they're sending him to etiquette classes, and they're giving Jeff Jarrett, real world experience in jobs, because they're preparing for TNA to go out of business when Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff fucking ruined the company. So they're making sure that, Mick Foley and Jeff Jarrett land in, jobs after, they're unemployed when Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan drive TNA out of business. That's basically what it is, But, yeah. Like I said, TNA puts less and less of an emphasis on wrestling each and every week. And for the people who watch TNA because of the wrestling, what do you think about this? Like, are you seeing it, or are you, like, blind to the fact? Are you, I really want to know, because, you bash WWE for having segments, you bash WWE for having skits, but TNA turns around and do the same thing, and you're, like, fucking quiet about it. Like, WWE, they do the segments, they do the skits, they do the promos, but for the most part, they're actually good. Like, if you watch this last episode of Raw, it had, it lacked wrestling also, but the skits and the segments that they did, the promos, they were actually good. The shit that they're doing on Impact sucks, and if, still, if that's not an explanation, enough for you guys, oh, well, you're being a hypocrite. No, I'm not being a hypocrite. You guys are being a fucking hypocrites because you watch TNA to see wrestling. You watch TNA because it's not WWE. You watch TNA because it's the anti-WWE, but it seems like they're just becoming a failed version of WWE, and it's pretty funny that, they have this reputation of being the anti-WWE, taking things that WWE doesn't put emphasis on and, putting the emphasis on it in TNA. They have this reputation for doing that, but as they're about to go head up with WWE RAW, they're changing into a failed version of WWE RAW. If I want to watch shit like this, I'll watch Raw. Okay? It's pretty simple, as simple as it goes. And, yeah, TNA puts emphasis on the young talent, supposedly. When they put, they put emphasis on the tag team division. When they put young guys, they put talented, X Division guys and, tag teams in an 8-person match. It was like 4 teams in the match, 8 people, only give them 4 fucking minutes on this last episode of Impact. 4 minutes. TNA puts emphasis on the X Division when they had the fucking X Division champion be squashed in a match that was less than a minute. So, yeah, what do you think of Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff and what they're doing with TNA? This is not the time for TNA to compete with Raw, because they're like I said, they're becoming a failed version of Monday Night Raw. Speaking of jokes, things that are not meant to be taken seriously, I laugh every time I see Hulk Hogan in the press and he's saying, oh, TNA isn't trying to recreate history, we're trying to make history. Really, you're not trying to recreate history? I couldn't fucking tell, because you have Hulk Hogan, in the ring, you have Eric Bischoff, calling the shots, and you have Vince Russo booking matches behind the scenes. It sounds pretty familiar to me. It sounds very similar to a company that went out of business in 2001, if my memory serves me correctly. I don't know if it sounds familiar to you guys, but it sounds pretty familiar to me. And speaking of not recreating history, how the fuck are you not recreating history when you're trying to make Abyss, the new version of Hulk Hogan, and that's epically failing. And you're trying to make AJ Styles the new version of Ric Flair, and that's failing also. Screw how good of a wrestler AJ Styles is, because it doesn't matter. I'm talking about his mic skills. I'm talking about his personality. I'm talking about his gimmick. It's all fucking failing because you have someone who lacks mic skills, and you're putting him next to one of probably the best talkers in the history of wrestling, and he's imitating him. That just shows how, and it's magnifying how much AJ Styles sucks. You're putting him next to a person that he's imitating. He can't even do half the job that Ric Flair did playing that nature boy type character, the playboy type character. That's just showing how much it fucking sucks. And I'm not even going to get on Abyss and his whole Green Lantern thing. The power is in the ring. That shit is just ridiculous. It's cartoonish. It's corny. I just hate it. I just hate it every bit. So, yeah, I guess I just kind of went into rant mode, but yeah, I got my points across, though. I'm going to end this video by reading a quote. It's a pretty ironic quote that comes from Vince Russo's new book. It's called Rope Opera, How WCW Killed Vince Russo. Basically, you can tell from that title alone that the book is a bunch of bullshit, but this may just be the one truthful thing that comes out of this book. I read this on NoDQ.com, and I'm going to pass it along to you guys. I'm not going to say why it's ironic, because it's going to be pretty clear and, you know, within the context with Impact moving to Monday nights. A few weeks prior to signing with WCW, I witnessed Hogan wrestle Flair on Nitro. Now, strictly from a fan perspective, it was very hard to watch. What I witnessed that night was two legends that were shells of their former selves, still trying to do it. Watching Hogan and Flair that night just wasn't right. In my opinion, the bookers were just exploiting them to try to pop a number. It was a desperate situation, and that's exactly the way it came across on TV. Not even going to say anything about it. It speaks for itself. Fucking hypocrites. I am JayDub. Peace out.